The indelible mark of the day when James callously tossed the crumpled divorce papers at my feet remains vivid in my memory, much like an enduring scar. I can still feel the sting of that moment, frozen in time, as he uttered those chilling words that shattered the life I had known. "I sold the house because I'm moving in with her. It's over, Sarah," he declared. At the tender age of 32, I was a devoted homemaker, dedicated to our 11-year-old son, Mark. Our seemingly idyllic life unraveled in the blink of an eye, leaving me blindsided, naive, and utterly unprepared for the storm that was to follow. My journey with James had commenced at the age of 18 when he, a charming man working at the main office of a pharmaceutical company, entered my life. Fresh out of high school, I found myself working as a receptionist at one of its subsidiaries. James' attention was flattering, and he seemed like a dream come true. Our whirlwind romance led to an unplanned pregnancy, and before I knew it, we were married in a modest ceremony. Life at that point appeared simple, or so I believed. I wholeheartedly devoted myself to our home and to raising Mark, but James's presence dwindled over the years. The day James left, everything crumbled. Forced to confront the harsh reality lurking beneath the surface of our seemingly happy life, I had to reckon with his infidelity, growing distance, and the signs I had chosen to ignore. With nowhere else to turn, Mark and I moved back to my family home. However, my sister Laura and her husband were far from welcoming, making it clear that we were considered burdens, intruders in their settled life. In the midst of my despair, I felt lost, a high school graduate with no significant work experience, tasked with finding a job to support myself and my son. Each rejection in the daunting job market dealt a blow to my fragile state. However, with Mark's well-being at the forefront of my concerns, I found a job at a call center, a far cry from ideal, but a glimmer of hope in the darkness that had enveloped my life. The job was challenging, demanding long hours and involving interactions with irate customers, yet it provided a sense of purpose I had lost in the chaos of my personal life. As I navigated the complexities of the corporate world, I realized how sheltered I had been, particularly regarding legal matters like divorce and alimony. This realization ignited a fire within me, vowing never to be so helpless again. I immersed myself in learning, expanding my understanding of the world beyond the confines of home and family. As Mark grew, I witnessed the impact of our situation on him. His quiet demeanor and mature eyes reflected a resilience that I admired. Our journey had just begun, marked by struggles and revelations. In those struggles, I discovered a strength I never knew I possessed, and in those revelations, a determination to fight back and claim what was rightfully ours. Life at my sister Laura's house served as a daily reminder of our fallen state. Her husband, Mark, barely concealed his disdain, frequently remarking, "Sarah, you need to find your own place soon. We can't support you." Yet in the face of adversity, I embarked on a journey of self-discovery and empowerment, determined to overcome the challenges that lay ahead. For what seemed like an eternity, the unrelenting pressure bore down on me relentlessly. Day after day, I diligently scoured job listings, hoping for a break that would lift the growing sense of despair within me. Each rejection letter served as a painful reminder of the uphill battle I faced. However, amidst the turmoil, it was Mark's quiet resilience that provided the glimmer of hope I desperately needed. Mark remained steadfast in his commitment to his studies, his determination unwavering despite the challenging circumstances. His ability to stay focused fueled my determination to press on. Then, unexpectedly, a beacon of opportunity appeared on the horizon. A job opening at a customer service center. While not glamorous, it presented a chance for a fresh start. The nerve-wracking interview felt like a pivotal moment. Clad in my outdated suit, with a resume that felt embarrassingly thin, I faced the inevitable question, why did I want this job? Suppressing the urge to express my lack of choice, I mustered a smile and stated my desire for an opportunity to learn and grow. Surprisingly, they offered me the position, a contract role, but a starting point nonetheless. The mixed emotions I experienced when sharing the news with Laura and Mark mirrored the conflicting feelings within me. Relief mingled with a stinging sense of inadequacy. Mark's comment, "Finally, you can start contributing," lingered, adding another layer to my internal struggle. The job proved to be a challenging endeavor in a fast-paced environment with endless calls. Overwhelmed as I was, I persevered, driven by the need to provide for Mark and prove to myself that I could stand on my own. As the routine settled in, reflections on my marriage with James surfaced. The late nights, unexplained absences, and whispered phone calls had been dismissed as part of the illusion of a happy family. However, the truth unfolded. James had been living a double life. The revelation was a bitter pill to swallow, igniting a growing anger towards James and myself for my naivety. A coworker's insight about alimony and child support opened my eyes to my entitlements. James had left us with nothing, and I had silently accepted it. Realizing my lack of knowledge, I embarked on a journey of self-education. Books, online searches, anything on divorce and family law became my resource. Then a call from Mark's school unveiled a different struggle. He had been in a fight, fueled by the poison of James's manipulation. The realization that our situation was defining us struck hard. Determined to reclaim what was rightfully ours, I vowed to fight back, not just for my sake, but for Mark's future. Moving into a small apartment marked a significant departure from the life we once shared with James. Though humble, it represented our fresh start. Mark's resilience continued to surprise me as he embraced the change, throwing himself into his studies with a fervor that impressed and concerned me. A year into my job at the call center, I had grown more confident and adept at handling the challenges. The sense of achievement, though small, served as a constant reminder that I was more than James's discarded wife. In the midst of this progress, Mark, over dinner one evening, posed a question that caught me off guard. "Mom, do you ever think about Dad?" It was a subject we rarely touched upon, leaving an open-ended curiosity hanging in the air. I found myself grappling with the admission, a confession that wasn't as straightforward as it might seem at first glance. The revelation of what he had done to us lingered in my thoughts, a constant weight that fueled the resentment I harbored. Our lives had been left in ruins, with nothing to show for the love and commitment we had invested. As Mark's eyes darkened with the same hatred I felt, I couldn't help but reflect on the injustice of it all. His callousness struck a chord deep within me, awakening a potent mix of anger and a profound sense of injustice. The simmering emotions found resonance in Mark's words, and I acknowledged, "You're right." My voice, surprisingly steady, broke the silence that hung between us. He shouldn't get away with it. In the weeks that followed, I delved into the intricate web of divorce and family law. My quest for knowledge led me to explore facets such as alimony, child support, and the available legal avenues for seeking redress. The more I learned, the more empowered I felt. A breakthrough emerged when I discovered that, under certain conditions, a betrayed spouse could file for alimony even years after a divorce, particularly in cases of infidelity. Empowered by this newfound knowledge and armed with evidence of James's infidelity, I took a bold step. I sought the guidance of a sympathetic lawyer who saw beyond professional courtesy to understand the depth of my pain. "You have a case," she assured me, but cautioned, "It won't be easy. Are you ready for this?" My resolve remained firm as I nodded, declaring, "I'm ready for myself and for Mark." Together with Mark's unwavering support, we embarked on the challenging journey. As we filed for alimony, citing James's infidelity and his failure to provide financial support post-divorce, I felt a mix of emotions, fear, anxiety, but above all, a sense of righteousness. The legal battle was a daunting prospect, but James had wronged us, and it was time for him to be held accountable. The filing of the lawsuit marked a turning point, a moment where fear clashed with determination. I knew that James would not take this lying down, but I was no longer the naive young woman he had left behind. I had grown stronger and wiser. The legal proceedings unveiled more than just infidelity. They exposed a web of lies and deceit that James had meticulously woven over the years. In the lawyer's office, we were presented with a file that went beyond our expectations. James wasn't just unfaithful, he was living a double life, a revelation that painted a damning picture of luxury and indulgence, all while neglecting his family. The evidence was irrefutable. Bank statements, credit card bills, and photos revealed James's secret life. As we stared at a photograph of him, carefree and happy with a woman who wasn't me, a surge of emotions washed over me. Mark's face mirrored my shock and disappointment, yet we steeled ourselves to face this painful truth. The lawsuit took a toll on us as James's aggressive lawyers sought to discredit me, portraying me as a vindictive ex-wife. Nevertheless, I stood my ground, fortified by the evidence and the unwavering support of Mark and our lawyer. The deposition day arrived, with James's demeanor smug and confident. However, as our lawyer began presenting the damning evidence, bank statements, personal expenses, and incriminating photos, his confidence waned. The room was charged with tension as the lawyer asked, "Mr. James, can you explain these expenses?" His eyes flicked nervously over the documents, and in that moment, I saw a flicker of panic. The truth was laid bare, and justice, albeit a challenging pursuit, seemed within reach. James's carefully constructed facade began to crack, revealing the vulnerability beneath. Fumbling for words, his composure slipped as he struggled to downplay the gravity of his actions. He insisted it was nothing serious, just a fleeting affair. But Mark interjected with an icy voice that sliced through the tension, accusing James of destroying their family for a mere fling. The room hung thick with the palpable weight of betrayal. Attempts by James's lawyer to intervene were futile, as the damage was already done. Overwhelming evidence pointed to James's unfaithfulness, and his feeble excuses only added to the mounting tension. Leaving the deposition, a sense of vindication washed over me. James had been exposed for the cheat he truly was. However, the battle was far from over. The lawsuit against James was poised to continue, and I braced myself for the upcoming challenges. James, I knew, would fight back, but for the first time, I felt a newfound sense of control. No longer a victim of his betrayal, I was determined to fight not just for myself, but for Mark and the life we deserved. As the lawsuit dragged on, each hearing became more contentious than the last. Amid the turmoil, a surprising development unfolded one evening when Mark came home with a peculiar look on his face. He shared a remarkable twist in the ongoing saga. His job interview at a pharmaceutical company was conducted by none other than James, the HR manager. The irony was bitter. James, who had abandoned his family for his career, was now unknowingly interviewing his own son. Mark, fueled by a cold fire, played along at first, savoring the revelation. He confronted James with pointed questions about the company's stance on affairs, leaving his estranged father speechless and stewing in guilt. In the aftermath of Mark's unexpected encounter, the ripples spread through our legal battle. James, now aware that his own son stood against him, grew increasingly desperate in his defense. Our lawyer, Miss Carter, informed us that James's lawyers were pushing for a settlement. Despite the mounting pressure, Mark's determination remained unwavering. During a strategy meeting, Miss Carter revealed the possibility of a settlement, given the evidence and Mark's compelling testimony. However, looking at Mark, I sought his opinion. His jaw set, determination clear, he declared, "We go all the way. He needs to be held accountable, not just financially, but morally too." Miss Carter, her expression resolute, nodded in agreement. "Good. Let's prepare for the next hearing. It's going to be tough, but we have the truth on our side." The subsequent hearing proved to be challenging, with James's lawyer attempting to paint a picture of a remorseful man who had simply made a mistake. However, Miss Carter remained relentless, presenting evidence of James's deceit and neglect of family responsibilities. James himself took the stand, his demeanor a mix of defiance and feigned contrition. He expressed regret, but it was evident that the battle for accountability was far from over. The hearing became a crucible where the truth clashed with manipulation, and the outcome would determine the course of justice for our fractured family. I found myself standing amidst my family as he spoke, his voice devoid of genuine remorse. Despite his claim that the settlement offered was fair and just, his words echoed hollow in my ears, igniting a surge of anger within me. How could he, in all his audacity, stand there and play the victim, oblivious to the havoc he had wreaked? It was at that moment Mark, my son, broke the silence. With a steady voice, yet burning with emotion, he challenged the notion of fairness. Was it fair, he questioned, to abandon one's family, to resort to lies and deceit, while we struggled to make ends meet? The courtroom fell into an uneasy silence, the weight of Mark's words hanging thick in the air. As James, the perpetrator, looked at his son, there was a flicker of something on his face, guilt, perhaps. However, it was too late for regrets. The judge, after careful deliberation, ruled in our favor. The settlement granted was significantly more than what James had initially offered, a tangible acknowledgement of the harm he had inflicted upon us. Exiting the courthouse, a sense of vindication enveloped me. It wasn't merely about the money. It was about justice, about holding James accountable for his actions. "We did it, Mom," Mark said, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. It was more than a legal victory. It was a reclaiming of our dignity and a crucial step towards healing. Yet the story did not conclude there. The repercussions of James's actions began to unravel his life, both professionally and personally. Weeks after the trial, I received a call from an old acquaintance who worked at the same pharmaceutical company as James. "Have you heard about James?" she asked, her voice tinged with a mix of shock and gossip. Curiosity mixed with apprehension, I inquired about the details. "He's been demoted," she revealed. The company conducting its investigation post our lawsuit discovered that James had been misusing company resources for personal affairs. He was transferred to a remote factory, practically a career death sentence. Stunned silence overcame me as I absorbed this information. The once rising star of his company was now facing the consequences of his actions in the most fitting manner. Mark, listening quietly as I shared the news, simply stated, "Good." His eyes, however, reflected a deeper sense of satisfaction. James was getting what he deserved. But the ripple of retribution did not end there. James's social circle, once tight-knit with colleagues and friends, started to distance themselves. His reputation, tarnished by the lawsuit and the company investigation, became a liability. Rumors of James's fall from grace spread, selling his apartment to cover the settlement and legal fees, his second wife struggling to adjust to their new diminished lifestyle. As harsh as this reality was, it was a consequence James had brought upon himself. His choices, driven by selfishness and deceit, led to his undoing. Reflecting on these developments, it became clear that this wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. The universe, it seemed, was righting a wrong. Mark and I discussed these events one evening, our conversation more reflective than vengeful. "Do you feel sorry for him?" Mark asked, his voice neutral. Pausing to consider the question, I replied, "No, but I do feel a sense of closure. It's as if a chapter has finally ended, allowing us to start anew." Mark nodded in agreement, a shared understanding of the profound significance of justice served. The time had finally arrived for us to transition into a new phase, redirecting our focus towards the intricate tapestry of our individual lives. The chapter that encapsulated the challenges and triumphs of Sarah and Mark was drawing to a close, and as they gazed steadfastly towards the future, the burden of the past began to dissipate slowly, akin to a heavy fog lifting from their shoulders. Confronting adversities head-on had not only fortified their spirits, but had also rendered them more resilient, poised to wholeheartedly embrace the forthcoming chapter of their lives. With the legal battles now relegated to the rear-view mirror and James grappling with the repercussions of his actions, an overwhelming sense of freedom enveloped their lives. It felt as if they had been emancipated from a looming, dark cloud that had cast its shadow over them for an extended period. Their once modest apartment, symbolic of their struggles, started to metamorphose into a comforting haven. A fresh wave of transformation swept through as they redecorated, turning their living space into a manifestation of their newfound beginnings. The walls, once bare witnesses to their trials, now boasted artwork, while shelves were adorned with books and mementos, transforming the living space into a sanctuary of memories. Mark, now more at ease and focused, found himself excelling in his studies. What was once a resolve born of anger and a quest for justice had now evolved into a genuine passion for learning. "I'm contemplating applying for a research internship this summer," he shared one evening, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "That's truly wonderful, Mark," Sarah responded, feeling a surge of pride. "You've worked so hard for this." Their conversations, once centered around the past and its tribulations, seamlessly shifted towards the future and the aspirations they hoped to achieve. Travel plans, places they longed to visit, and experiences they wished to savor became the new focal points of their discussions. One day, as they sat in their newly adorned living room, Sarah broached a topic that had been lingering in her thoughts. "Mark, have you considered dating? Meeting someone special, perhaps?" His response was accompanied by a bashful chuckle. "I've been so focused on school and everything else, but yeah, I think I'm ready to start dating." Sarah smiled, delighted to witness him contemplating a normal and happy aspect of life. For Sarah, her role at the call center had evolved beyond a necessity to become a source of fulfillment. Taking on more responsibilities and mentoring new employees, the job that once felt obligatory now provided a profound sense of purpose. During one dinner, Mark looked up and proposed, "Mom, I've been thinking. We should invite Grandma to come and live with us. She's been alone since Grandpa passed, and I think she'd like it here." The suggestion warmed Sarah's heart, and she agreed wholeheartedly. With Grandma now part of their household, their home exuded a sense of fullness, resonating with laughter and cherished stories from the past. As they sat together, Grandma shared tales of her youth, the challenges she had faced, and the resilience that defined her life. "Life is a tapestry of experiences," she mused, her eyes reflecting the wisdom amassed over the years. "Some parts are dark and difficult, while others are bright and joyful. Together, they make a beautiful picture." Her words struck a chord with Sarah, echoing the tumultuous journey they had navigated. It had been marked by pain and struggle, yet it had also been a journey of profound growth and resilience. With Grandma's presence, a sense of completeness infused their home. One evening, while gazing at the stars from their balcony, Mark asked, "Mom, do you ever think about Dad anymore?" Sarah paused, acknowledging that sometimes she did, but not in anger or resentment. "I think about how far we've come since then, how he was a part of our story but not the defining part." Mark nodded in understanding. "Yeah, I feel the same. He's just a chapter in our past." In that moment of silence, each lost in their thoughts, the journey they had undertaken unfolded before them. It wasn't a path they had chosen, but it had sculpted them in ways they could never have envisioned. As they looked towards the stars, a profound sense of calm enveloped them, signifying the culmination of their transformative journey.